We're going to call to order the Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, Indian River County Commission meeting to order. Excuse me, tongue twister there. We will start with a moment of silent reflection for our first responders and members of the armed forces, followed by an invocation by Leslie Rossway Swan, our supervisor of elections, and then I will be honored to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. That everybody please rise.
Dear Heavenly Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. God of peace, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us unity of spirit. Help us to each listen respectfully as others share their points of view. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for a great outcome. Help us to work as a whole, focusing always on the best interests of the people. I not only pray for our leaders here today, but I also pray for the leaders of our state and of our great nation. Lord, keep our leaders grounded in what is good and true, protecting them from the temptations and distractions of power and influence. May they know and follow you, leading through faith, ever working for the good of the people they serve. A house divided cannot stand. Therefore, I pray for our leaders to be unified in righteousness for the sake of our nation. I pray for your protection to cover all of our law enforcement officers and the men and women of our military who fight the good fight every day to keep us safe. God is our Prince of Peace, but in a world so full of chaos, degradation of morals, and division, we may often feel at a loss in terms of comfort or peace of mind. Neighbor is turned against neighbor, and we focus more on our differences than the fact that we are all uniquely made in the image of you. Please help us to unify and see that we need to love each other rather than cling to our differences. We pray for your great healing on our land. With God, all things are possible. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in honoring the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, we have a few changes, additions, deletions to the agenda as it was earlier published. I would like to add 14A2 to my matters, which we'll do at the end of the meeting. I would like to do that. I would also like to move 15A1 to after the consent so we can get Chief Johnson back to work. And then, as you know, 4C was item 8H. It was deleted from the consent agenda. I'll be glad to entertain a motion for those changes or hear any of your requests.
Move to approve as amended.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Moss. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this is approved. All right, next we're going to start out with proclamations and presentations. We have 5 proclamations today, which is a great thing. And we'll start out with 5A, which is a presentation of proclamation designating February 2023 as 211 Awareness Month, and that'll be presented by Commissioner Lohr, and I believe is Mr. Adcock in the building. Well, if not, we'll still proceed ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In recognition of 211 Awareness Month, as all of us up here have recognized over the last few years how valuable 211 has been to our community and to the Treasure Coast. With that, I will read the proclamation. Whereas 211 Helpline and Crisis Line continues to be the beacon of hope, providing life-saving crisis support and guidance when people are overwhelmed and don't know where to turn. And whereas during these challenging times that include the pandemic impact and the economic instability and recent hurricanes, 211 caring and highly trained staff have been the frontline first responders 24/7 through it all. And whereas people of all ages and walks of life are reaching out for their growing struggles with mental and emotional health, addiction, housing, health, and other concerns, and 211 staff listen to each and every one to provide available resource options and to help them strategize to problem solve. And whereas 211 also has specialized advocacy and support programs for the community that include caregiver support, Help Me Grow, and 211's life-saving Sunshine daily phone calls, which continue to brighten the lives of isolated seniors and their caregivers. Whereas 211 also responds to the 988 Lifeline number and supports lines that include first responders and MyFL Vet for veterans with peer-to-peer support, providing assistance to these specialized groups and their families. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that February 2023 is designated as 211 Awareness Month in Indian River County, and that the board reminds all citizens who are overwhelmed in crises or just need a talk that 211 is available at any time to provide referrals for mental health counseling, substance abuse, health care, employment, food assistance, daycare, support groups, volunteering, free income tax preparation, and many, many other things. Adopted this 21st day of February 2023 and signed by all 5 county commissioners.
Mr. Adcock, I don't believe is here, but I know that this is a proclamation we normally do every year, and it's a very worthwhile proclamation. You would be surprised how many calls that are fielded by 211 for our community and the other counties they served. It's totally just you can't believe the numbers that they have, but they do such a great job. They refer a lot of people to the professionals that they need to see, and it's a wonderful organization. And thank you for reading that, and we'll make sure that they get their proclamation as soon as possible.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Next, we will have a presentation and proclamation honoring William Holt, and this will be read by our Vice Chairman, Susan Adams. Mr. Holt and company, come on forward.
Wonderful. It is my pleasure to read the proclamation honoring William Holt. Whereas Indian River County celebrates African American pioneers who, through their service in the business, public, and elected arenas, have paved the way for this and future generations. And whereas in 1992, William Holt was a founding member of the Education Foundation of Indian River County, which has helped thousands of students reach their full potential by funding programs and services that transform education and the classrooms where it occurs. And whereas William incorporated Ross Small World Child Care Center to nurture hundreds of disadvantaged 0 to 4-year-old children in Gifford, a program so successful that he was asked to lead the Florida Head Start program with its student enrollment of 38,000, and eventually became treasurer of the Regional Head Start Association, covering agencies in 8 southeastern states, serving over 150,000 low-income children. And whereas William was selected for the first School Readiness Coalition of Indian River County, providing parents with access to high-quality early care and education, plus financial assistance for qualified families. And whereas, in 1994, William established the Certificate of Charter for the Gifford Central Little League baseball team and worked with the County Recreation Department to build a baseball field in Gifford. Furthermore, he sponsored recreational football camps for more than 400 young players over a 7-year period, eventually assisting Coach Billy Livings, recruiting over 100 players and a bevy of minority assistant coaches and mentors. And whereas William was a co-founder of Every Dream Has a Price, Inc., which assists low-income families with either repairing their current homes or achieving the dream of first-time home ownership. Additionally, he persisted over a 2-year period in bringing the Family Dollar store chain into Gifford, evening the playing field for this low-income area and providing affordable shopping for those with less. And whereas William was an instrumental liaison in the renaming of 45th Street in Gifford to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, a visual reminder for our kids of a revered Black leader who stood for justice and fairness. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the pioneer spirit and civic contributions of William Holt have made a lasting impact on Indian River County and the Treasure Coast, and that the board extends its sincere thanks for his outstanding efforts within our community. Adopted this 21st day of February 2023 and signed by all 5 county commissioners. And Mr. Holt, I just want to thank you for your commitment to the community. I mean, this list, I know there's much more that wasn't even on here, is an amazing. If half of us could do even half of the things listed here, this world would be a better place, and it is a better place because of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Briefly, not amiss if I wouldn't introduce first my heartthrob. My wife of 53 years, we met when we were in the 10th grade. She's, just a little older than her. And those that stand, but I wrote something down because as I talk, I know that when you come up, you make sure that you write down so you don't forget. But I thank all of the friends that's here, but we all here for just a season, only one season. God awarded us, all of us, a seasonal honor. To the Board of Indian River County, Board of County Commissioners, I thank you for this event. I thank you so much for just to take the time to notice, because it's happened so long. It's something that never stops. Teddy Floyd, thank you, Teddy. I just have to say that. And my wife is always here. Kendrick, in my group here from the church. But he's one of the patterns of what we've done. Everybody knows Kendrick. But he was right there from day one all the way through it up until now. We still operate together. But I want to finish this. I'm thankful and grateful for your recognition of me as someone who chose to serve others. My dedication and commitment originated from a dream as an impoverished little boy in Port Gibson, Mississippi, who just wanted to do something good. Arriving here in 1969, I began volunteering, assisting, feeding the elderly, sponsoring and working with the kids in our community of all nationalities, mentoring juveniles from the recreation to the high school, teaching young men how to meet and greet the public professionally. And from there, it took a life of its own. Because of my work in Indian River County, I was recruited for the Florida Head Start Association presidency and for the Florida Community Action Association in Tallahassee and Southeastern Association of the United States, all 8 states, which had a combined budget of $2.1 billion. When we're trying to make a difference, it doesn't come with a roadmap. It comes from perseverance and a desire to serve others. The willingness to serve has taken me along many paths, terrains and trenches, because the work is in the field. I'm often reminded when I fall short that my humble beginning allowed me to remember that I'm not perfect, but a work in progress dedicated to making my season on this earth a success for others. No one can define me unless it begins and ends with humanitarian. I have no replays, and I continue to give my all regardless of the circumstances. I know that my piece of the puzzle has been inserted within others' lives, and I carry on. I don't waver, nor will I stop providing servitude until my season has run its course. Humanitarian work is a calling that enables deep down within one's soul, and those who travel this journey will understand and reach their destination. Again, I thank you, because we never know who's inspired by your display of leadership as the governing body of the citizens of Indian River County. I thank you. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to say something as well. Growing up in Indian River County, I met Mr. Hope and Ms. Hope years ago. Me and their son were best friends growing up, and he's inspired me. He started me when I was 12 years old. I wanted to play recreation football, and I was overweight at the time, and I couldn't be a player. So he brought me on as a coach. He started my career in coaching, and I've just been inspired by him all my life. He's like a second father to me. He's inspired me. He helped me start my program, RBI, Reviving Baseball in the Cities. The charter he gave us in 1994. I am now the president of that Gifford Youth Little League in Gifford, Florida. And it's just been a blessing. And I thank you all for honoring him. And I feel honored today to be able to say thank you for everything you've done for this community. And I want to grab the torch and continue to give back to kids and people like you did. Thank you.
I would like to say that William is a different maker. He makes a difference in the lives of others. He is a dedicated person, and he can make a big impact with just a few words and little action. He improves the lives of others, and he rallies and encourages others to propel themselves forward in order to make a change. And he does this daily in the work that he does to help to improve the lives of others. Thank you. Congratulations, William, and congratulations on receiving the proclamation from the city commissions in the River County and the county commissions. And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Without a miss, I just want to say one last time that this gentleman here is just beautiful. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I won't be long. I just wanted to tell you thank you. I came to Indian River County and I got involved because of this man. And I know the boss, back then it was Tim Dobeck, and then fast forwarded to Sheriff Lohr. And they used to be at me, say, Teddy, don't put the kids on the truck, trying to make sure that we get them safe. But this man right here paved the foundation for a lot of our kids across the whole county. And one thing I found out about football, he was whooping me so bad, Sheriff, I had to go get some people to pick him, get some kids from all over the county to whoop him. Because he'd whoop you. He wouldn't just whoop you. He would beat you down and make you understand. So I just want to take the moment. Thank you, guys. Thank you, commissioners, for acknowledging this month and letting people know that we got a lot of pioneers within our community, and we still got more to come. Thank you.
Anybody else out there for Mr. Holt? Mr. Holt, come back up to the podium. We're not done with you yet. Commissioner Fleischer.
Thank you. We just heard from Teddy, and I want to tell Mr. Holt something. Okay. This is something that we've been doing. I'm in office 17 years. Not quite a pioneer, but each year we get together, and with the help of Teddy, we identify individuals who have gone that course, got there. And we have a little thing where we get together and we talk about superlatives for individuals. And Teddy's superlative for you is one word: inspirational. He said, you have inspired more people in a diverse manner in many different arenas that, usually somebody does something good and maybe on the field, or maybe in group community sessions or in the schools. You've been everywhere. And I'm so proud and honored that you're getting the recognition today. And we appreciate everything you've done. No matter where you were, you came up with being an inspiration.
Well, I thank you for that. And just go back a while. One of those guys that back in the 60s, I just want to add this real carrot to it. When Jane Meredith got her shot in Hernando, Mississippi in June of 1966, Martin Luther King came. I was able to join the March of Fear, to fight against fear. And I learned in that march when we come down to Jackson, what I learned, I'm one of those old school old guys, you know what I mean? That has no fear, because fear is of people who are afraid of things. But what I learned, that instead to challenge that fear into positives to reach the young black African American kids, white and black, because I've dealt with all of them, to make sure that they understand that this world out here is something that you have to adapt to. The world is just out there. You have to govern yourself, you have to police yourself, and if you use that, you never have to worry, but just keep your head up. When things look bad, just keep your head up and keep moving regardless of what takes place. Nobody can control your destiny but the Almighty, but just keep doing the right thing, and it'll come for you. Regardless to what taking place, it'll take care of itself.
That's what we're talking about. You would have made a fine Cope deputy, too. I think they missed that boat.
He was backing us every time.
He was.
Helping us.
You want to bring the crowd up?
Everybody come on up.
Come on, Miss Leslie.
Bring the whole gang up.
He got off the plane and beat us. He got off the plane and beat us when we was on the coach there.
You, you want one with just you three, and then we'll do a couple of pictures. Congratulations. You.
Oh, we got one more? Okay, great.
Thank you. Congratulations.
He's going to carry it on.
Mr. Chairman, while they're disassembling, I want to just invite the coach to introduce himself to Gustavo. Are you here, our Assistant Parks and Recreation Director? Okay, so one of the things I'm most proud of in the proclamation is the development of Gifford Little League baseball field. We want to continue to foster and grow that relationship, and we want to integrate it into the Jackie Robinson Training Complex and its RBI program, which you're doing a great job of already. But I want you two to shake hands and continue to foster that relationship. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Mr. Holt. Again, thanks for all you do. We appreciate it. Next, presentation of proclamation honoring the Indian River County legend, Mr. Dale Dawkins. This will be presented by Commissioner Fleischer. Commissioner Fleischer, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an extreme honor. I just want to say to Dale Dawkins, you know I don't know much about your game. You know that. We talk about it. We have fun with it. But I do know a lot about your character. And we first met, I think the kids were a little younger then, when Marlene was going to school with Alexis, probably second grade, first grade. They were small. But you exemplified something. You know, I used to go to have lunch with the kids, and all the moms were there because, well, they were home and they were at the school. But there was one guy that was there when I was there, and that was you. And I kept saying, who is this guy? You know. So my bride said, that's Dale Dawkins. But she was a fan. So she identified. I said, this guy he comes to lunch. He's the only other guy there. You know, it's doing the right thing when people aren't looking, the same way as when they are looking. And I was just so impressed. And you over there at parent pickup, being a dad, and your character throughout that. Now you've shared it with so many. Last week, as we were giving Pastor Jefferson his proclamation, did everybody remember how all those children, when they got the signal, they got up, they marched, and they left because they admired this man so much because of his mentorship and his ability to support the best in individuals. So I want to say thank you. This is an honor to present this proclamation. But I'm going to do that, and then we're going to hear a couple of words. This proclamation honoring Dale Dawkins, whereas Indian River County celebrates African American pioneers who, through their service in business, public, and elected arenas, have paved the way for this and future generations. And whereas Dale Dawkins, a native son of Indian River County, was born in 1966 to Henry and Burdell and developed into one of Vero Beach High's all-time greatest athletes, graduating in the class of 1986. And whereas Dale received both football and basketball scholarships from the University of Miami, eventually choosing to play wide receiver for legendary coach Jimmy Johnson, and winning 2 NCAA national championship rings between 1987 and 1990. Whereas Dale advanced to the National Football League in 1990, draftee of the New York Jets, playing in the team for 4 years and winning the prestigious Ed Block Courage Award in 1992 for excellence in team leadership and perseverance in overcoming a potentially career-ending leg injury. And whereas upon retiring in 1994, Dale returned to Vero Beach as an entrepreneur, public speaker, and founder of Pro Fitness of the Treasure Coast, where he held sports camps and special groups for athletic training before branching out as a minister at St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church, gaining ordination as assistant pastor and overseeing operations of existing ministries and associated staff, starting new ministries, providing personal training for the athletes, and serving as Dean of Students at St. Peter's Academy and Charter School. And whereas in 2005, Dale's entrepreneurial spirit led him into his family to Bozeman, Montana, and he founded Pro Fitness of Montana, a nonprofit organization that sponsors annual basketball tournaments and teaches kids and funds scholarships for young adults seeking to further their educational and athletic goals. And whereas after returning back to Vero Beach in 2017, Dale was again immersed in himself into his hometown, coaching football at the Vero Beach High School, continuing as Dean of Students at St. Peter's, and starting C4L Charities, a partnership organization that most recently produced the Martin Luther King Day Parade of 2022. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the pioneer spirit and civic contributions of Dale Dawkins has positively impacted the lives of many Indian River County and Treasure Coast residents, and that the board extends its heartfelt thanks for his tireless efforts within the community. Duly adopted this 21st day of February 2023, and it is signed by all 5 county commissioners. Dale Dawkins.
Wow. Oh, wow. I guess I'd like to start out by saying thank you to the county commissioners, Teddy Floyd, this chamber, It's a huge honor, and it really means a lot to me. I've gotten to know a few of you, and it's been a privilege to get to know you all. I don't think the work is done. There's just been so many mentors and legends before us, before myself, that have paved the way that I know today I stand on those guys' shoulders. It is my biggest hope that kids in this community will experience Vero Beach and Indian River County like I did. It was almost like I was just a kid that was just grew up with favor. I stayed in homes or it was at places that a kid like me should have never been, like the Veldis. They had this light in their house that you just touch it and it came on. And I was amused by this light, and I just touch it. I just sat there, and he was like, "They'll leave the light alone." I had a switch in my house that you had to, but in his house there was and so I want to say thank you to the Veldis. I grew up with them. Their sons, Tim, Brett was their oldest son that, was one of those guys that I threw the football here in Vero Beach, and we ended up in Miami together at the University of Miami. To the Wilson family.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Coach Wilson, whew. Thinking about what he meant to all of us, giving us just the vision and the fortitude to just force our way through and to get to the other side, and his tireless work remember this little truck that he just rode around, this little truck, and would throw us all on the back of that truck and just would travel with us all over the state of Florida. So to the Wilson family, I don't know if they're here today, but I just want to say thank you to their family for all the kids that they touched during my time. Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones is another lady she's everywhere. I don't know how. It seems like when I was about to get into some trouble, she was just have always been there. So, Dr. Jones, thank you so much. The Thompsons, I had people. This is how good I had it in Vero Beach, and I really mean this. It was a complete community effort that helped me be success. I mean, white and black alike. It's like they didn't see. We're talking about in the 80s when I'm growing up. It's almost like they didn't see color. They saw a kid that had some potential, and they rallied around me. And from the start of my career, from Sebastian all the way to Miami, and even till today, I'm still getting that type of support. And it would behoove me to not give everything that I can so a child can experience Vero Beach and Indian River County like I did. It was truly something special. I mean, people just stepped up and was there for me, and I want to say thank you to them all. There's so many different names that I could call out that will have me to be up here forever. But I got to fall back on my family. I got my oldest sister, Diane. My parents they're gone on now. We were not a wealthy family, but a loving family and a giving family. My two brothers, Terry and Henry Jr., took the blunt of everything. They just made it easy for me because my dad was a working man. And I can remember out at Sebastian River Middle Junior High School, my dad would come and to pick me up from school to take me to the grove so I could pick the bottom of the trees. I hated it. I hated it. Because that was just, I just wasn't cut out for that kind of work. I just wasn't. I was like, I got to find something else to do. And so it was sports. Finally, my dad actually had a chance to actually see me play in Sebastian, and it changed my relationship. It did. It changed the whole dynamic of him seeing his son out there doing something that he was proud of. And my two older brothers, they had to keep going to the Groves while I was able to go and pursue this career. So I do want to thank them too for taking that load off, and all of my family support him, my sisters and brothers. I thank all of them. I mean, they supported me from the beginning all the way to the end. And again, Teddy, I don't know why you're not standing up here, but you should be at some point. I hope we get around to recognizing Teddy. And moving forward, where I'm at St. Peter's, I think this gives me an opportunity to ask, or to be brave enough to ask. There's still some work that needs to be done in our community. And I'll just ask this chamber, have me back. Let's have a conversation about what we can do different and better for the kids in our community. We got kids like myself, like Kenny Holmes, and this next generation of kids that wanted to come over and do exactly what Mr. Hope did. And, Kenny's already doing some with the kids, but there's kids that need to feel like there is hope, like this community gave me. I mean, it was amazing. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and talking about what we can do next, how we can make it better for the kids that are coming up. These kids that I see at St. Peter's, which I want to thank Pastor Jefferson and Ms. Jefferson for giving me the opportunity to be with those kids on a daily basis. I see what's going on. I see the need to have more mentors and people showing up in these schools so kids could have, so they can dream. These kids don't even have dreams today. I ask them, hey, what is it that you want to do? They have no idea. It's almost like they're just trying to make it to the next day. Some come to school with, I don't necessarily need to get all into it now because I made for a different setting. But again, thank you guys very much, very much. The work is not done. And I definitely look forward to coming back and seeing how we can do more with Teddy and the city of Vero Beach. So thanks again.
Well, Dale,
Anybody else?
yeah, you got to do the picture thing, and I just want you to know with the great
Anybody
assistance
else?
of C4L and you and Coach Bethel and Coach Holmes, Teddy, we're going to get that accomplished.
Good.
So thank you, and thank you for initiating it.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else from the audience wish to comment about Dale?
They all want to get a hug.
Good morning. This guy right here, he's a light when it's dark. I mean, he's just so awesome. I don't know. I mean, it's just, Dale is just Dale. He's the only person I know like that. It's a pleasure to be around him and to share with him our faith. We're both members of Mount Olive, St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church under Andy Jefferson, Reverend Andy Jefferson, and it's just a pleasure.
Well, I'm back before you again, Commissioners. A wise man that is sitting behind the dais over there, two of them, say you don't need a badge to make a difference in your community. Today, we proved that. After giving what we've given, and we still got a lot of work. I want to thank Doc, Assistant Superintendent Eric C. Moore, and everybody in this room. We have a lot of work to do in our community. We set precedent. As you used to say, Sheriff, there's no price to pay for justice. We're going to go after them and continue to make our community better. Joe, I thank you for sitting down. We're going to get that wall done so we can continue to send that legacy when people see what has been done. Sheriff, when we see what they look back, we'll be under the trees back, probably driving cab cars then, but we'll be out helping people and continue doing what we do. Joe, I appreciate you. To all the commissioners, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We continue to keep this thing going. And Dale, we're just beginning, baby. Always.
Just taking a nap.
Anybody else? Dr. Jones?
That's said about me several times. I'm everywhere. That's the truth. As far as being with students and this young man, and all I have are fond memories. And he's right. Every once in a while, I would point and say, no, that way, not this way. But as Teddy just said, and as Mr. Seymour here with the school district says, we've got work to do, and we're in it because we all have the same mission, to educate our students to make sure they can go on to their next journey in life, whatever it may be. So congratulations to Mr. Dawkins. We love you, and I'm grateful you're part of my life. Thank you.
Mr. Seymour, standing in the back. Anything you'd
Yeah.
like to add? Okay, all right, good. Commissioners, Commissioner Fleischer, anything else?
I think that's it.
Commissioner Laura?
I have the proclamation.
No, he did come up. Okay.
Yeah.
No, again, just wanted to echo what was said, all of the many things that have been said. And as Dale mentioned, at some day we got to think about Mr. Floyd for the wonderful things that he does each and every day. Not only as we talk about Dale is working on one side, working with our kids, but he's also working at Vero Beach High School and doing great things. But as Dr. Jones mentioned, Dale didn't get in much trouble, so don't let him, you didn't have to do a whole lot.
Except that light thing.
He was always a wonderful and kind, gentle guy, and I appreciate him, and thank you guys as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? All right. Come on up, Dale.
One more time.
There he is.
Listen. I gotta hear from him and Randy because they went to Miami before me, and I get like I'm a kid. They talk to me like, "Hey, go get this, go get that." So I don't have anything nice to say about those guys. No.
No, he is amazing, and some things that people, I think somebody said earlier, things that people don't see that you do in the community when everybody else is asleep is what really matters, and he is definitely that guy. And I want to thank you guys, commissioners, for honoring him. And you're right, we do have work to do. Thank you, guys.
But then.
Also want to thank my uncle who drove all the way over from the West Coast to be here. That's my dad's brother there, so he's kind of filled in that role as my father's gone. But James, thank you so much. I appreciate Kim. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. This is great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Let's get some more on that side.
This is the guy with that light.
Something tells me you're getting one for Christmas.
kids.
All right. Good to see you, sir. I'm good, sir. You doing all right? Good to see you. Yep.
Oh, hey. Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right. That's his baby daughter. Yep. Last one over the fence.
Okay. Okay.
Hey. You. Take care. Keep your eyes on.
All right, moving on to the next one.
Look at time. Look.
This will be a presentation of proclamation recognizing Black History Month in Indian River County, and this will be presented by Commissioner Moss, and I think Miss Isla Harris is going to be here to receive. So,
Thank
everybody, just a second, and you can start.
Thank you. I think Dale shut it down because he knew Kenny was talking. Good work. Oh. Where'd Kenny go? Oh. Oh, yeah.
All right. Presentation of proclamation recognizing Black History Month in Indian River County. It'll be presented by Commissioner Moss. Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to read this proclamation. This proclamation recognizes the progress we've made as a nation. But I was really inspired by what Mr. Dawkins just said about people who give us hope, and I'd like to mention a few of them in our own community. Just last month, we had the 25th anniversary of the Gifford Youth Achievement Center, Freddie Wofolk and Angelia Perry. Just amazing the work that they've done. Constance Peterson at Gifford Middle School, she has her career fair every year, incredible lady. Gerard Miller at Dodgertown Elementary School. Unfortunately, we lost him too soon. Young man, passed away, but accomplished great things in a short life. And looking to the future, we have Johnny May Perry, who's working on the Gifford Historical Museum and Cultural Center. And we have Dr. Bijot, who's working on the Gifford Youth Orchestra and actually having a building for them. So we do have in our own community people who give hope. And I want to thank Mr. Dawkins again for saying that, and thank all of those people for their efforts. And there are many more. Those are just the few that I've had contact with the last 2 months or so, and of course over time as well. The proclamation recognizing Black History Month in Indian River County. Whereas Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by Black Americans and a time for recognizing the critical role of African Americans in U.S. history. And whereas the 2023 National Black History Month theme is Black Resistance, which celebrates the peaceful resistance methods African Americans have employed to overcome oppression in all forms. And whereas for generations, Black faith institutions have been spaces where communities found sanctuary during times of crisis, organized resistance efforts, and inspired citizens of all races to participate in their movements. And whereas the success of the American Civil Rights Movement and the fight for racial equality in the United States is a testament to the determination of millions of African Americans who fought against discrimination, using a strategy seeking equal rights without violence, taking to the streets for peaceful protests, acts of civil disobedience, and economic boycotts. And whereas in 1965, as a galvanizing example of the power of peaceful resistance, John Lewis led over 600 marchers across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, in the face of brutal attacks by oncoming state troopers, resulting in video footage that shocked our nation, fueled the fight against racial injustice, and prompted Congress to pass the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act. And whereas Black Americans have achieved many other triumphs since the latter half of the 20th century, including the dismantling of Jim and Jane Crow segregation in the South, increased political representation at all levels of government, desegregation of educational institutions, the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the opening of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History in Washington, D.C., and increased and diverse representation of Black experience in media. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the Board hereby recognizes Black History Month in Indian River County and the pivotal role Black resistance strategies have played both in achieving lasting results and serving as examples for other social movements in our country, a legacy that cannot be overstated. This was adopted 21st day of February, 2023, by the Board of County Commissioners, Indian River County, Florida, and signed by all 5 commissioners. Thank you. Is there someone here to receive this? Oh, wonderful.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just want to thank you for this honor. I'm here representing the Fort Pierce Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, which serves Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin counties. Thank you again for the recognition.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Get your All right, thank you. Anything you want? Okay, now it's my turn. The presentation of proclamation recognizing the Education Foundation of Indian River County, and I believe Ms. Leon is here. Come on up. Welcome, Heidi.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you so much for having us here.
It's my honor to read a proclamation recognizing the Education Foundation of Indian River County. Whereas the Education Foundation of Indian River County is a 501c3 organization that supports school programs and services that increase educational outcomes for K through 12 students, providing funding where it is otherwise limited, and focusing on 4 main programs. And whereas the Education Foundation's High Impact Grants programs allows teachers to submit a letter of idea application that aligns with the School District of Indian River County strategic plan and promotes academic achievement and student motivation with measurable outcomes. And whereas the Regional Science and Engineering Fair was created in 1992 to enable all local pupils to use their imaginations and explore their academic potential, competing against other students in the county and state to win awards and scholarships based on their efforts. And whereas the Keeping the Promise program supports teacher recruitment and retention by providing relocation cost reimbursement for new educators in the district, including moving expenses, storage fees, utility deposits, and security deposits. And whereas the STEP into Kindergarten program provides a summer session for incoming kindergarten students attending Title I schools in the fall, directly advancing kindergarten readiness rates by preparing children for success in pre-reading math and social emotional skills, and allowing a smooth transition into the learning environment. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the Board hereby recognizes the Education Foundation for their significant accomplishments in elevating public education throughout our county and thereby expanding economic, political, and social opportunities for all, reducing unemployment, crime and dependence on public assistance programs, raising tax revenue, and improving public health and civic engagement. Adopted this 21st day of February 2023 and signed by all 5 county commissioners. Ms. Leon, thank you very much. I'm very well aware what the Education Foundation's always done even before you arrived, and you've been a breath of fresh air for it, and we appreciate that. But they do a lot of things that go unheralded in this county for students and education, especially teachers, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and all the commissioners. We're thrilled to have this proclamation today and to recognize elevating education in Indian River County. Thank you so much. I won't tell you again what our 4 main programs are, as you said them so beautifully, but we're thrilled to support the school district and the teachers, students, and schools of Indian River County. Thank you.
Mr. Seymour? Holmes?
Again, we just say thank you, and especially for recognizing Ms. Leone. She has come in, doing a wonderful job. It's a lot of work to be done, but I am the vice chair of the board of directors, and also Mr. Holmes is on the board of directors as well. But again, we say that there's a lot to be done. Without you, we can't do it, and we appreciate each and every one of you for all of the services that you provide to our schools and students alike. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, anything like that?
Congratulations and thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's shoot some clays.
See, you got a hot mic. You could have used it. No.
Stands right in
Oh,
front.
let's put him down. Yeah.
I saw you side.
Madam Vice Chairman, you'll be glad to know, I saw a picture the other day on a Facebook post from back when Mr. Seymour was playing Vero Beach High School basketball, and he was way taller than everybody else.
Not surprising.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. All 5 of us, I think, did an outstanding job on those, and those were great proclamations and well-deserved by all those that received them. So thank you very much. Next, let's move on to item 6, approval of minutes for the regular meeting of December 6, 2022, I'm sorry.
Motion.
Okay, you got to speak loud, for these hearing disabled people.
Second.
Go have a second. Commissioner Lohr, second.
What?
I have a motion and a second. Anybody from the audience wish to comment? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 5-0. Thank you for that. Commissioners, number 7 we'll move on to. This is information items from staff, Commissioner not requiring board action. As you notice on the agenda and what you received, this is from the city of Sebastian noting voluntary annexation of 2,044.3 acres more or less. And I would note that in that letter that they had the wrong date to reflect the annexation. They had back on December 14th, and it was actually February 8th, 2023. So if you didn't catch that, I just wanted to make note of that you saw that. So, all right, moving on. The consent agenda. You remember we pulled 8H was already pulled from that, and we've already voted on that. Is there anything any commissioner wishes to pull for discussion?
Mr. Chair, 8G, please.
8G?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have a motion to pull 8G for discussion by Commissioner Moss. Do I have a second?
We won't be requiring one.
Don't need a
That's right,
second.
we don't need a second. What am I thinking? Anybody else? Anything else want to be pulled?
No, sir.
Check with them.
Okay. Anybody from the audience have anything they wish to be pulled from the consent agenda?
8F?
8F Foxtrot?
Yep.
8F.
Okay, we're gonna do that.
Okay.
Take H first.
Mr. Chair, move approval as amended.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer and a second by Commissioner Adams to discuss 8F and 8G and present the rest of it as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, let's start with 8. Let's start with 8F.
Sir,
Mr.
good
Hart,
morning.
welcome.
Good morning, Board, and my name is Wilfred Hart, 617 19th Place Southwest, Vero Beach, Florida. I just want to stand up here this morning because this has been a discussion for a few years, and there was a man that's on the diocese right now that promised me that this was going to get done in the name of Commissioner Fletcher. And so, Commissioner, I just standing up here to tell you thank you for your tires. No, you and I talked about this some years ago, and now it's coming to pass. And you promised me that this will happen. And so whatever we talk about privately, something like this, I want people to know that you were instrumental in getting this done. And so there's some other projects that we're working on out there. And, you know, I take pride because it is named after my father. And so I take pride in that area out there. And so I just want to tell this board, thank you for updating and upgrading the restrooms out there. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Motion to approve.
I thank Wilfred Hart for that there. It was a commitment, but I want to say thank staff for moving forward. So with that, move approval.
Second.
Is that Commissioner Moss or Commissioner Adams?
Commissioner Moss.
That's what I thought. Okay. 8F, Commissioners, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Moss. Anybody from the audience wish to comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Will.
8G, Commissioner Moss.
Yes, this has to do with dune crossovers, and the one that I wanted to mention is the tracking station dune crossover. And this is with regard to being responsive to the community and thanking staff. The community, and I wasn't aware of this until yesterday, but presented me with a photograph of what it looked like, and some of you may remember this. There was a little pavilion at the top of the crossover, and that was some time ago. I guess more recently it didn't have it, but they said, well, gee, if we're going to fix it again, could we have that little pavilion back? So I spoke with staff yesterday, and thank you for being so responsive. And this is for the community. We can't put the pavilion back immediately because it's FEMA funding. So when you submit the application and it's granted, you have to build exactly what the application stated. That being said, Beth Powell, our Director of Parks and Recreation, will see that the footprint enables us to go back and add a small structure like this, a pavilion, for shade, and also for access, I think, in terms of people who might not want to or be able to walk down to the beach, and they can sit there in the shade and enjoy the beach. So I think it's a nice addition, and thank you to staff for being so quick to respond. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Moss, second by Commissioner Lohr.
Commissioner Fletcher.
Was that you again? You gotta yell at me from down there. You're too far away.
I'm going right at you.
Okay, we'll give it to Commissioner Fleischer. All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Moss, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody in the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioners. All right, now we're moving on to way ahead. We're going back to 15A1. This is a waiver requirement for bids for annual physical exams.
Move approval.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Lohr. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none. Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Good job, Dave.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Awesome. All right, moving on to number 9, constitutional officers and governmental agencies. Indian River County Supervisor of Elections Leslie R. Swan, in reference to revenue from the special referendum mail ballot election. Madam Supervisor, welcome again.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Our office recently conducted, it was the first time, an all-mail ballot election for the town of Indian River Shores. Since they had no candidates, we were allowed to do it all by mail. So I'm here today to ask that the funds that we received for conducting that election be rolled into my 2022-2023 budget.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Vice Chairman Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Did I get that right? You did second, didn't you?
We tied.
Okay, I heard her. My left ear is better than my right ear. So,
I'm fine with that,
Okay.
anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion?
as long as she gets it approved.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 5-0. Thanks again for a job well done as usual.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to public items, public discussion items. 10B1, request to speak from Doug Demuth in reference to Sector 7. Mr. Demuth, welcome.
Good morning. I'd like to speak to you today about beach replenishment in Sector 7. The saga has been ongoing for some time now, and needlessly so. I believe there's a better plan than today's, and I'd like to share it with you. But first, let's review the issues. First of all, public beach access. This was one of Peter O'Brien's favorite topics. Peter often mentioned that there was no public access to Sector 7, and thus, in fact, it was a private beach. Please keep in mind that the sector monuments, the sector boundaries, are a creation of the county staff and not the people who live out there. And that these have been moved at various times in the past. FDEP, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, identified monument markers R97 to R115 as the at-risk beach areas. Currently, Sector 7 only extends from R97 to 108. Extending to R115 takes us about half a mile or 1/3 of the way into Sector 8. And that is an area that the staff unfortunately has not considered addressing, and it is contiguous with what is in Sector 7. I'm showing you a map up here. I've ended it at R108, starts at R97. Logic would dictate that combining the sectors 7 and 8 to address the entire problem would be a smart thing to do. Doing so would also bring Round Island public access into the assessment and obtain the additional state funding that Peter was so concerned about. Moreover, the county has had many opportunities over the years to purchase Sector 7 land for public access, but has not done so. These missteps are not the fault of Sector 7 residents, but of county government decisions. Second issue, easements. Please recall that previous easement agreements had a 15-year duration, the same as Florida DEP permitting. This time, the county staff decided to press for a perpetual easement agreement. When I brought this to Commissioner Ehrman, he stated that the staff would accept a 20-year duration. But somewhere along the way, the current perpetual, don't call it perpetual, easement version is now being circulated among the same residents that rejected the first iteration of this thing. I'm now led to believe that if this too is rejected and a 90% acceptance level is not reached that the project will be canceled. Please note that in the engineering staff's consultants, Coastal Tech's December 2018 report, it states that replenishment is likely to occur every 6 years on average due to tropical storm activity. It's a fact of life here in Florida. They also state that a no-action alternative does not address the project purpose and is estimated to result in annual damages on the order of $3 million per year. It goes on to say there is no reasonable basis to conclude that the no-action alternative can fulfill the project purpose, and that can be found on pages 26 through 28 of that Coastal Tech report. So are we to believe that this board would really consider inflicting on these folks $18 million $18 million of damage over the next 6 years on these beaches after they were, a couple of weeks ago, saddled with $30 to $50 million of excess profit payments to the city of Vero Beach for water and sewer services? I would hope not. And are we also to believe that the Board of County Commissioners would really consider never replacing this 2.5-mile stretch of beach, ruining recreational use for some 3,200 residents, and destroying the sea turtle and marine life habitat forever? Again, I would hope not. And finally, the last issue, major issue, is sand placement. As a senior director of operations executive for a number of Fortune 500 firms, I learned long ago that the devil is in the details. I've often uncovered opportunities when diving deep into analyzing the project data. And about 6 months ago, I asked for and received the December 2018 Coastal Tech Sector 7 Beach Plan. In this plan, I found that only 13% of all of the project sand was to be placed in the northern 12 properties, those that were rejecting the perpetual easement, and those who claim, and an area where sand accumulates naturally and where these residents really don't see any need for heavy equipment to come across their property and dump tons of sand on it. So what we've got is from R97 to R99, that's where the 12 no's and non-respondents live. When I presented, So I asked the staff, why couldn't we simply start the project at R99 and avoid the northern no easement folks and immediately gain 83% acceptance from the rest, from R99 South. Then, with 2 votes that we believe we have in hand, we jumped the 85% acceptance criteria that we were told by Dylan Reingold and Jason Brown was the minimum for a project go-forward action. When I presented this option to the staff, I was told that not only had the staff changed their figures, analysis, and plan, but they had already obtained permits with state and federal agencies using this new plan. Moreover, this new plan now intends to place 40% of all project sand on those 12 northern properties. One would have thought that the staff would have at least consulted with these folks before permitting a plan that would dump tons of sand on their property. At least then we all would have known that the staff's plan was unworkable and saved the permitting costs and time. I have since asked for the consultant's new report and backup data used to create it. I just received it this weekend. So in summary, public access to Sector 7 and additional beach replenishment funding issues are the result of staff definitions and county governmental decisions, not of Sector 7 residents. Easement issues are the result of changes to the past 15-year easement conventions. A do-nothing option is roundly dismissed by the county's consulting engineering firm and will cause $18 million of beach damage over the next 6 years, leaving them to rot forever. And finally, placing 40% of all project sand on the properties of the 12 northern homeowners rejecting a perpetual easement and seeing no project benefits was never an actionable plan. So what do we do? I and others believe that there is a possibility for a revised and actionable plan. We believe that starting the project at Monument R99, just south of the 12 objecting residents, makes sense. When you've encountered folks in other sectors objecting to sand replenishment, the staff has simply worked around them. They've shown us pictures of this. We should consider doing the same with these 12 homeowners. Doing so would again give us an 83% acceptance rate and very, very close to the 85% we were told early on was the minimum acceptable. Of the 12 residents, as I mentioned, of the 12 residents in the southern areas, because effectively we have sort of two colonies of rejections, one north and one south. But of the 12 in the southern areas, again, we think we can get at least 2 of them, if not more, and maybe get to the 90% acceptance rate. So I suggest to you once again, please, let's form a working group of county staff, concerned Sector 7 residents, and others to develop an actionable plan to replenish Sector 7 beaches and preserve them for recreational use and marine life habitat. Let's put aside the recriminations and the roadblocks. Let's talk together and turn this into a successful community working together with government to solve a common need. I'd like your acceptance to do so. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Demuse? This is not something we'll vote on, or at this time, we don't normally vote on these items anyways unless the commissioner wants to bring it forward, but I will open it for a limited discussion if anybody has any comments.
Well, I'd be happy to sit down with each of you and go through this in far more detail. I've tried to pare it down so it was manageable and understandable today. But again, I'd be happy to sit down with each of you and walk you through everything, all the detail that I've been given and the new things that have come to light. But again, I think, again, if we can sit down, form a little group, sit down and talk our way through this, we can find a way where we can replenish these beaches, we can create a government and citizenry working together, good feeling program, and preserve 2.5 miles of beaches. The one thing that scares me even more than this is the county's consulting staff report does say that if we do nothing in Sector 7, it's going to transport the problem further south. It already has into Sector 8, a third of the way through Sector 8, and it will continue further and further down toward Round Island. So we must do something. We need to keep up with those beaches and make sure that they don't degrade further and further. I mean, the real issue isn't just natural erosion, it's the storms. Every 6 years a storm comes through, and that's what's prompted the last three beach replenishments out in that area. So we just need to be able to somehow work those beaches on a regular basis after storms and keep them to a degree where we can manage them. Because otherwise, you're looking at a big bill at the end of the day, which none of you are going to have a stomach for. And those beaches, we'll never have to worry about hard bottoms again because they'll be right up against the seawalls. So we really need to do something about these now. And I'd be happy to sit down with you, form a group, and let's, we've got a lot of great talent in this community. I just was with some the other day who were experts in the bond industry. I've got engineers around. There's a ton of talent. Let's draw on some of that. Let's figure this thing out. It's not rocket science. We can do this. So thank you very much. And,
I would
if you'd
tell
like
you
to sit
that
down with
we
me,
have
I'm happy
the, as you know, the new easement language went out along with the other information in a letter by me explaining why we're going to do this. We're going to let that play out and see, and then I don't have any objection. We may be running out of time to plan for the coming year, but I think we have the ability to overcome that if possible. If there's something we can do, I'm willing to entertain it. The Beach and Shore Committee will be the place to at least start, and then we'll go from there. But as you know, my door's always open. I'm willing to entertain anything. I want to see Sector 7 get sand. And frankly, I've told this to commissioners before, and I think they all agree that we can't believe that people won't sign easements to get free sand. There has been approximately, I had Rich's office send me the information the other day, there's been approximately, I want to say 10 homes, maybe Rich, I don't know if I'm close or not, that have self-permitted themselves through the DEP and putting sand on the beach themselves in the Sector 7 area. That's something they're paying for out of their pocket. We're willing to put free sand, but the thing about it, we don't have time to put sand on it before the March 1st deadline for the sea turtle season starts, and then they start planning for the October deadline. So there's a lot of factors that work in here, and I think that we can eventually get there. And Doug, you and I talk all the time about this, and I'm not opposed to doing that, to working some more, but we've got some new members starting on the Beach and Shores that we're looking forward to some good input on them, and I think we can start there, and then we can work back and let the Beach and Shores decide what direction they want to take on this.
Let's put aside the easement issue, because that's what we're talking about, are people's property rights.
Right.
It's their property, they own it, and this is as conservative a Republican issue as you can find. What people own is theirs. The county should not be coming in there and holding an axe over their head and saying, if you don't sign a perpetual easement, we're going to destroy your beach. And that is just not actionable. So, to my point, they've taken it down, but we've got 12 people in the north who basically say, we're not going to do anything because sand accumulates here naturally. We don't need tons of sand and your heavy equipment up here for months. And so we're just not going to do it. We're not going to do it. So then we need to come up with another plan. And the other plan is, let's start at R99. Let's avoid these folks. They don't want to play the game? Fine, they don't have to. And sand accumulates there, so we don't have any real danger to that part of the beach. Let's start at R99 where FDEP says the problem starts. And let's come up with a plan right from there on down. We'll probably end up saving some sand and some cost. Let's start at R99. Let's build a plan south and get rid of the problem and save ourselves tons and tons, millions and millions of dollars later on. I mean, this is something that we can do. But let's not go out in the public and blame some folks for not giving up their property rights. I just don't think that's fair.
All right. Well, we're gonna look at Beach and Shores, and we're gonna move on from there. I'm gonna get with staff and see if there's, to see if it's possible. I actually personally don't think it's a bad plan, but it may not be a plan that we could.
Yeah.
And I work with you to go through this.
Yeah.
Because again, doing it behind closed doors and all of a sudden something popping out again, and me having to stand up here and bring other people in here to talk about it, and going through iteration after iteration just wastes time. And as you said,
Beaches and
the
Shores
clock
is a
ticking.
public meeting.
I understand that, and I've
So
been to
I
it
wouldn't be
before.
behind closed doors.
But a group of, 15 people sitting around a table are not going to be able to work this out. This needs a small group. We need probably three folks from the staff, Dylan, Eric, and maybe Rick, perhaps yourself, as well as a couple of folks from Sector 7, to sit down and work out a plan. Then we can take it to Beach and Shores and say, okay, here's a plan, this is how it works.
And I'm fine with that, but I need to listen, we'll get with staff and we'll get with staff and we're gonna work through it. Again, we'll try again if y'all so wish, but we gotta let this first phase run out. So I thank you for your comments.
I seriously doubt we're going to get there.
Mr. Chair?
We're gonna try, so thank you.
Mr. Chair, there is another option, and that's to schedule a sequential meeting with each of us individually. We do it routinely on Mondays, generally, but it could be done another day if that's not convenient for you. You know, if things have changed and there are specific facts that you want each of us to have, that might be helpful, especially if time is growing short. And I'm not saying not to do Beach and Shores. You can do both. Do everything, you know, to get it done. And thank you for all the time you spent on it. I know it's been a long road to hoe, and that's an understatement.
I would be happy to sit down with you. Let's talk about how we implement something like that. Because again, my goal would be, I think, a rational goal. If I were, again, in the private sector, back in the private sector, that's exactly what would happen. I mean, we would put a group together, a working group together, and come up with a plan and save ourselves the time and the money. So I'd be happy to sit down with you and see how we could do something like this, see what we could do to implement something so I can have a conversation with each of you if I need to and see how we go forward. So I'll be in contact. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Commissioners,
you.
any further comments?
Did we go from closed-door meetings to the committee, Beach and Shores, a public meeting, back to closed-door meetings, sequential closed-door meetings?
No, I think you're going to do both. I didn't suggest that, if you're asking me, I didn't suggest that you not do Beach and Shores. I think you can do both. If I understand it correctly, what Mr. DeMuth is saying is that he's got a lot of detail and that some of it is new information. Did I understand that? Or some things have changed, put it that way. Some things have changed. So it's an opportunity for us to be apprised of details. And it's just another option. No, I think Beach and Shores is a good thing. And,
Let me end this conversation.
Yes.
This is not as easy as
Right.
as you may think it sounds. This is not as easy a process as you may think it sounds. While personally, it's like a football game. There's probably a better play you can use, but it is a legal play. And I really think Mr. Mute's got probably a pretty good idea. But we have to do it the right way and the open way and the transparent way. And Beach and Shores is a committee formed by this group that has to do it. I don't care if y'all can talk about it individually. Doug and I have talked about this till we can't talk about it anymore. I think we talked about it a lot. So, y'all are welcome to certainly do that, but this is not as easy as you may think. And we don't have the time, and it's not under this part of the meeting, it's not time for discussion to have Eric or Rich really discuss it before you as a body. But I can just tell you, as easy as it may sound, it's not that easy to do. So we have to do some research. We have to make sure that nothing's jeopardized through the DEP or through anything like that. And there's a lot more work. There's a reason these sectors were established like they were. Mm-hmm. Can we move them? That maybe is the magical question we have to ask. And I think that I'll get with staff, I'll get with Rich and get with Eric, and we'll talk about it. And the Beach and Shores, we'll talk about it. So with that, I'd like to take it from there. Y'all good with that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Doug. Commissioners, let's take a 5-minute break. Come back at 10:35. All right, call the meeting back to order. Commissioners, I have a request from the counselor, from Mr. Reingold, if we could, and I agree, to try to get the sheriff's folks back to what they need to be doing the best. And we need a motion to move 13B.
So moved.
Residence restrictions for registered sex offender permission advertised to right now before we do departmental matters. Do I have a motion?
Commissioner Fleischer, and I seconded.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the audience wish to comment? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, Counselor, 13B, residency restrictions for registered sex offenders, permission to advertise.
Thank you very much. On September 20th, 2022, the board directed the county attorney's office to work with the sheriff's office on a number of different issues. Sheriff's office and the county attorney's office have worked together on updating the sexual predator residency requirements in the Indian River County Code to better align with state statute. The ordinance change would not impact the actual distance requirements set forth in the code. County Attorney's Office recommends the board authorize the County Attorney's Office to advertise for a public hearing for March 28th, and that will give us sufficient time to notice for that public hearing. I want to thank Detective Bridget Sanders, Ryan Butler, and also Attorney Long from the State Attorney's Office who've worked with me on this. They've actually done the heavy lifting on this, and so I want to thank them for their efforts. And other than that, I'm available for questions, and I know there's several folks from the Sheriff's Office here as well.
So moved. Anybody? All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Lohr. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, and thank you for moving it forward to let these folks go.
Thanks, Ross. All right, moving on. Item 12, departmental matters. Under D, Human Resources, 12D1, selection of finalists for interview for the county administrator. Ms. Boyle, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Suzanne Boyle, Human Resources Director. And the item before you is the next phase in the county administrator recruitment process. You have been provided finalist candidate reports from Colin Basinger and Associates. And the ask is that you now select your finalist for interview. We do have a form for each of you to complete, reflecting your top candidates. And then Linnell Klein is on the phone, and she will take us through the process. And we do have a spreadsheet to record your selections. And then that should then generate the list of finalists that we would be inviting for interview. So with your approval, I'll proceed with distributing these forms.
1 second before you do it. Commissioners, it's been suggested, and I'm going to ask before we do this, have Linnell chime in, but make sure that I don't say anything or forget or if I omit something. But first of all, the recommendation has been for us to identify 5 finalists and possibly 1 alternate. Was that correct?
Yes.
Does anybody, we don't need a motion on that, I don't think, Counselor. I think we can just do it by consensus. Are we good with the number 5?
Yes, sir.
You're good? You're good? Everybody's good with the number 5? Okay. Linnell, anything you want to add with that?
No, we just, and if there's a commissioner who doesn't have 5, or we prefer 5, but really it's up to each commissioner how many they choose. If there's really only 4 that they're interested in, then they can pick 4, but we recommend picking 5.
Okay. Yeah, the final outcome they would prefer and I would prefer it be 5, but you can choose 5 or less if you'd like. So anything else? If not, let's move on.
I have a question.
Okay.
When we fill out the form, you want them just check marks next to the 5?
That's
it's not ranked, right? It's just.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, just check marks.
It's no
Yeah,
ranking.
so we don't need to rank them. We just pick the 5 without ranking.
Thank
so
you.
check marks are perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor, do we need to verbally announce, or do we need, or is the paper good? Where would you guide us on this?
I'm going to actually just defer to Suzanne. Were you anticipating the commissioners to read these to you? Were you anticipating them to be passed back to you? What do you want to do?
And thank you, Dylan. And actually, I need to refer or defer to Linnell for their process. This is their ballot form. And Linnell, how does this typically work?
We can do it either way, but typically we just have the commissioners announce their 5 choices, one at a time.
Are you comfortable with that, commissioners? One at a time?
Of course.
Sure. Okay.
If we're not, we shouldn't be here.
There you go. All right. We need to pull up the spreadsheet. And can we put it on the screen? Okay. Can we go in order of the spreadsheet? So the first commissioner would be Commissioner Adams.
Sure. Doherty.
And Kim, would you be able to complete the spreadsheet? And we just put 1. Yes, that's fine.
Omen. Rosenthal. Titkinich. And Wilkins.
Commissioner Ehrman.
Dougherty. Mattson. Rosenthal. Takanych. And Wilkins.
Commissioner Fleischer.
Dr. Doherty, Don King, Phil Mattson, Pat Oman, and John Titanich.
Commissioner Lohr.
Daughtry. Mattson. Rosenthal. Tiktanich. And Wilkins.
And Commissioner Moss.
Don King, Don Rosenthal, Michael Silverman, John Tikanich, and Jeff Wilkins.
Okay. Linnell, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, and I was keeping track on my computer as well. So we have Tikanich with 5 votes. We have Doherty, Rosenthal, and Wilkins with 4 votes. The next would be Mattson with 3 votes. So that would be the top 5 that if you approve that we would bring in for an interview. King and Oman are tied they have the next most votes, and so you could list them both as an alternate or just pick one as an alternate.
Okay, so I'm showing Tikanich, Rosenthal, Dougherty, and Wilkins. And then I'm
Yes,
showing.
And then Mattson has 3 as well. So including Mattson, that would be your top 5.
Now, Commissioner, understand the alternate is in case 1, 2 of them drop out, then that gives us the 5 to interview. They're not invited if all are going to attend, the top 5 are going to attend. So the alternate's just there in
Yes.
case we have absences, correct?
That's well.
Yes, that is correct. So if somebody were to, let's say, get another job or decide to withdraw for personal reasons, then you have somebody that can step in and fill that place. We just ideally, we feel that the more candidates you can meet physically within reason, the more likely you are to see the right person. So we do like to have 5 in the interview process when possible.
So it looks like we have 5, and the question becomes, do we want 1 alternate or 2 alternates? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
So
Yes, and then we can do a voting between King and Omen to see who the top alternate would be. So we could go through the ballot again with just those 2 to pick the top alternate.
That's fair.
we could do that, or we could just leave 2 alternates. I mean,
Okay, so let me.
it's up to you guys, but.
So if all of the commissioners want to go through and.
Right, 5 and then the 2 alternates.
5 with 2.
I don't think we're gonna need the
No,
alternates, but.
we won't need them.
Okay, we're going with 2 alternates or 1?
Well, like I talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't understand why we need an alternate. If any of the top 5 right now decide to drop out between now and next week.
Then we have 4.
Right.
You could,
And that works
Possibility-
too, whatever you
possibilities.
decide to do.
I'm sorry, Linnell, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and that works as well. You do not have to select an alternate, of course. It's entirely your decision.
I mean, technically, you could have 3 of them drop out. You could have 2 of them drop out. So
Well,
the alternate's
then they
not,
weren't
the
serious to
alternate
start with.
doesn't come unless there's
I got you.
there's a dropout.
I got you.
Yeah. I would think 1 would suffice. Would commissioners, your pleasure?
It's really up to you guys.
Eliminate them all.
I think 1 would suffice. They're not invited unless somebody drops out.
Right, so it's basically they're in the green room at best.
Yeah.
At home, wherever they are. We have 5.
If y'all are good with 5.
With 5, we're gonna get somebody.
Okay.
I mean, they've been well vetted,
Let's just
well
stay with
reviewed.
5, no alternate.
We've done our own work. Our consultants have done their work. We've been provided. There's 5 candidates. 1 will be.
Good with that.
That's my feeling
Good with 5.
as one commissioner.
Ross?
I'm fine.
5? Commissioner Adams?
I don't care, that's fine.
Okay, I'm good with it. Y'all are good with it? We're just going to leave it at 5, no alternate.
Linnell, you have that information?
Yes, that is perfectly fine, if that's how the commission wants to move forward. So we can, we'll start working with the candidates on their travel arrangements and just the information they'll need for the interview process. Did we also want to discuss the interview process as well?
Hold on. If I can, and I,
Sure.
just to make me just more comfortable, I know we've talked about 5 candidates. It might just be good to have an official motion and second and a vote on what I'm hearing is the slate of Dougherty, Mattson, Rosenthal, Tukinich, and Wilkins. And then that would just be nice to have an official vote on that.
Well,
Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would be happy to move forward the list of 5 individuals that have been vetted and presented as candidates for the county administrative position.
I'll be glad to second that. Okay, I have a motion and a second by Commissioner Fleischer, second by myself, to entertain the 5 candidates selected in the polling we just did. Is there anybody from the public that wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes 5-0. So we have our 5, Suzanne?
Yes, we do.
Linnell?
And then the next question that Linnell asked is the interview process. We do have a draft developed that we've worked on for that process. Linnell, did you want to walk the commissioners through any other decisions that you might need them to be considering?
No, I think the only thing is just to finalize the interview schedule so that we can move forward with the interviews. So the schedule that we provided last Friday has the tour on March 2nd. The candidates would come for a tour of the county. They would have lunch with the staff, a reception that evening in a location to be determined. And then on March 3rd, we would start the morning with one-on-one interviews where they would meet with each of the commissioners individually for about 40 minutes each, and then a light lunch, and in the afternoon have panel interviews with the commission as a whole for each candidate. So are there any changes you would like to make to the schedule, or do we want to move forward with what we've suggested?
I know that Human Resources is comfortable with the schedule. We did want to accelerate the tour of the county to begin at 9:30, just to allow for a little bit more time. We're going to invite the chamber to provide a presentation on the county before the tour and then go on the tour. So staff had recommended that we actually begin that tour at 9:30, if the board is open to that. And then it would be lunch followed with staff, and then the finalists would have free time in the afternoon until coming back to 5:30 for the reception, which would be held at the intergenerational facility. And then that would end at about 7 or 7:30. And then the one-on-one interviews, is the board comfortable with the 40 minutes recommended by Colin Basinger and Associates? I think they've found that that's a adequate amount of time. Is that correct, Linnell?
Yes. Yeah. It just gives you a chance to test, because all of these candidates are qualified to do the job. At this point, it's about who's the right fit. And we feel like the one-on-one interviews are really important for you to determine if it's the right fit. Can you work with this individual?
Okay.
Commissioners, any questions so far?
Okay. Do we need a motion on that, Dylan?
I haven't heard really any changes or anything other than the 9:30 from you. So the board had kind of approved that at the last meeting. So with that consensus of a change, I think we're fine.
Okay, great.
Can you put up on the screen, Mr. Chairman? Can you put up on the screen again the final selection process again?
Oh, the process.
Not the process, the spreadsheet.
The tally.
The tally.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any further questions? Comments? All right, very smoothly done. I have a busy next Thursday and Friday, so don't plan anything. Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Bring snacks.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that this is going to be a very important decision we make. This is the next person that's going to take the county into the next generation, hopefully, in the future over the next few years, with all the folks moving to Florida, the demand on services, demand on our infrastructure, how we're going to plan, how we're going to prepare for the future is going to be a very, very important thing to dictate, and everybody to keep an open mind, and maybe next week or at latest on the 7th of March, we'll have a new selection. In the meantime, and until that person can take over, we're in good hands with Mr. Zito down there, and thank you for everything you've done so far, and will do in the future, I'm sure. So with that, unless Suzanne, anything else? Linnell, anything else? Commissioner?
No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Linnell.
Thank you.
All right. This is an HR day, folks. Next is 12D2, approval agreement with Everside Health LLC for Indian River County Everside Health Center, which is the employee clinic, which I know we have been talking about this for a while, so.
You know, I was reviewing the timeline, and we have been talking about this for a while. It was back in May 2021 when the board approved engaging Lockton Companies for a feasibility study to consider pursuing an employee clinic. And then in January of 2022, the board approved us to go out to market and request for proposal. And then in a clinic committee was formed, the RFP was issued, we met, we vetted the applicants, and we selected Everside as our recommended partner for operating the employee clinic. We came back to the board on November of 2022, and the board approved the recommendation of the committee and then authorized us to proceed with engaging into approved, not the committee, but the selection of Everside, and authorized us to negotiate an agreement with Everside, which we've been doing since that time. And we have a draft agreement that we've presented, and we are providing to the board for approval. And then the next steps will be, we'll begin the implementation of the employee clinic with the hopes of getting it up and running in time for our next open enrollment and plan year. So we're quite excited about this.
I am too.
Yes, it's been a long time coming.
Few years.
Yes.
Commissioners, I think this is,
Let's make it.
always have support. It's a fabulous idea. We talked about it even when I was still employed through the fire rescue department. We had talked about doing it. We knew it would take a long time. We're hoping that this will benefit the employees and all the constitutionals, anybody that's under our medical plan, to move forward this, to seek care, because it's, with more and more people coming to this county, it gets harder than ever to see even your personal doctor as much as they're booked up, let alone a specialist like a dermatologist or something like that. And I'm thinking this is going to be a good thing. It'll be a great thing for our insurance, keep our costs down. I just want to make sure, and I know I had this discussion yesterday with our county administrator about making sure that this office and this program is continually monitored and done right, that it shows a high level of medical care and professionalism that give our employees a good feeling when they walk into this building, that they know this is not some shed we just put up on available county property, that you can get good medical care, but the environment's not what we would prefer. I don't know how else to describe it, but I think we're on a good path. Everything that I heard yesterday, speaking with Mr. Zito about that, and the discussions you and I had, I think we're on the right road. So I'm really looking forward to see what rewards this can bring, not only to the health of our employees, but to the cost to the county. So I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Fleischer.
let's move forward.
All right.
Motion?
That's a motion.
Let's
It's been
do
a
it.
few years. We're
Anybody
working
else
on this.
wish to comment, though?
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Looking at our minimal minutes of the last meeting this was discussed, which was November 1st of 2022, it says, discussion ensued with concern expressed for employee utilization and possible cost savings. Ms. Boyle advised that Lockton, the county's healthcare partner, would provide reports and analysis on those concerns. And that was from November 1st, 2022. And there haven't been any, to my knowledge, additional reports. I still have concerns about the finances and also employee utilization. I mean, originally, when this came forward, the estimated startup cost was between $100,000 and $150,000, and now it's quite a bit more. It's increased quite a bit. And originally, the estimated annual recurring costs were $60,000 to $70,000. So, and now it's considerably higher. I mean, we're looking today at $1.2 million, and that's, I think, for the 5 years, if I understand it correctly. Those concerns that I have I don't feel that they've been addressed or ameliorated. I appreciate all your work on this, and I understand that it provides some value. My concern, again, is the finances involved and utilization, because back when we asked the employees, what I have here, I collected two of the figures. How likely are you to visit an employee clinic to treat your minor illnesses? And 58.5% said very likely, but that's only half. And people say it and then they don't do it. So if you get half of that, that's not very many people. And then the other thing was for use of it with regard to health coaching or chronic conditions, and that was even a smaller number. That was, that was about 40% said that they would be likely to use it. So I still have those concerns, and in addition to that, to the financial part of it, and this is from last October 2022, the analysis, and this was the backup materials provided to us. The analysis provided by Lockton indicates that savings from diverting care to the clinic would be approximately $202,915 using a low diversion scenario. So, I mean, it would like, how many years are we going to be? I mean, is it ever going to break even?
So a lot of the savings are going to be realized as a result of improved health over time. The number of the 200,000, the low diversion number that Lockton gave us, that was just a direct diversion of actual claims experience, diverting them from that setting that they received their care for those conditions into a clinic setting. So that's a kind of a hard dollar number, but the value that we see and that Lockton sees and that has proven over time for health clinics is to be able to get your employees more engaged in their own health and wellness, knowing their numbers and bending the future curve. So it's avoidance. It's avoidance of potentially a heart attack or a stroke or early intervention of conditions that could become very expensive long-term chronic care conditions. So that's why the importance of, as Commissioner Ehrman pointed out, is partnering with someone where it's a well-respected provider, a facility where you are going to have employees that will go. The numbers that you spoke about are very real. The people who said they would very likely go were for 58.51%, but then I also had about 30% that said they would consider it. So when I put those numbers together, driving over the would consider it folks, I'm getting into that point where I'm going to be able to influence people's health conditions by having them be able to come in, be able to get same day, next day care for acute conditions, or be able to come in for their annual wellness check, be able to know their numbers, be able to have coaching that takes place. The thing about this clinic that's a little bit different is it's not 10 minutes with your provider, it's 20 minutes or 40 minutes with your provider on those intake visits where they can actually spend that quality time with you and help you manage your own condition and help you navigate the waters as you might face a serious condition. Being able to go somewhere where they can provide you some guidance and direction and get you connected to the health care that you need. What we're seeing today is that our employees are kind of at the mercy of the system, and we know through our own family members' own experiences when you go and you call up and it's like, well, we can't see you until next month, and you're kind of stuck. So the value that we see is long-term health management, prevention of chronic conditions, but also supporting people just in their day-to-day health care that they're trying to achieve. Today, they're trying to achieve it on their own, and now we're going to have a partner that's going to help us work and support our employees and their family members through that process.
So the staffing is a nurse practitioner, is that correct? The provider,
Yes.
if you will, to
Yes.
use your term.
And then they have access to, it's called Rubicon MD, Shannon, and that is, they contract with Rubicon MD, so they have physician access for anything that might be where they need to pull in a medical physician to review labs or to review information and come up with a plan of care.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the usage. I am. I have I guess it's a legal question. In looking at it, it's the liability clause in here. Let me get it. Okay, it's 4.5, general liability and workman's compensation. Client shall maintain the following insurances in amounts that are appropriate to businesses or other organizations which are similar in size or sizes to client. So what will we have to do, legally? Because I guess, can they sue the county? I mean, we're offering, in a sense, we're offering medical care. We're going into the.
Those are really good questions.
We're going into the medical business, and I'm very hesitant about that. I know we're great at golf, but I'm a little hesitant about, stretching that to get into the medical business. So I'll ask our counselor, what would our legal liability be?
I mean, we will essentially be offering a health clinic style for our employees, and we will have to be legally and liably responsible for that. And we will, as the contract states, we will have the coverage that similar entities would have who have clinics, just as other entities like ours have decided to do for their folks. I defer to Locked In on more information they may have about that, but those will be our responsibilities. Again, it's expanding the number of things that we do. It's a great provision of a service that we can provide for our employees, but it comes with a liability of operating that type of system. And that's a policy question for the board as to whether that makes sense.
Right. And so the structure of this agreement is Everside is the clinic. They operate the clinic. They own the clinic. And we support it by paying pass-through fees for the labor costs and the supplies for those services. We pay for the lease. They lease the property. We pay them for that property on a pass-through expense. All of the employees in the clinic are employees of Everside. Everside will have all of their own workers' comp, all of their general liability, all of their insurance that they need to carry. The Section 4 is just what our obligation is as an employer and what we carry today, and was reviewed by risk management as our current in-force coverages that we have in place as an employer. But the employees of the clinic will not be our employees. They will be Everside employees.
But we could still be named in the suit.
I'm sure.
We can be
named in a lot of suits.
Yes.
And probably would be.
Convenience.
If it's medical, you're getting into.
And Everside
very
will carry
sensitive
the
area.
medical malpractice insurance, and they will
gone
maintain all
sky
the
high.
medical records. We will have no access to any of the medical records. Everything has been highly secured. And, Shannon Mason, Shannon, do you want to come up? And she's with Everside out of Orlando.
While Shannon's coming up, I will say this is fully integrated into our health plan. This clinic is fully integrated into the health plan, so it's part of our health plan and the exposure that we already have.
Yeah, absolutely. Everside Health will be the employer of any of those individuals inside the health center providing care. As Suzanne mentioned, we carry all the malpractice insurance, general liability, workers' compensation. I know you had some questions about in a lawsuit or something, could others be named? I'm sure there's different aspects to that to consider, but we have all the HIPAA protections, we have the privacy. This is completely outsourced to us as the entity managing this care for the members of the county. And we have an excellent track record of not having any suits brought against us over the last 5-year period in that regard. I can say some of the things you asked to in regard to the utilization. Some of the things that the membership that really drives them to the center, of course, is the quality of the providers, the amount of time they get to provide with that staff, the wellness aspects. But another aspect is the fact that They can get their labs and their blood drawn at the centers as well as the care provided, so they don't have to go to another entity to get a blood draw or some kind of a lab test. And they can even receive a number of different generic medications that we cover inside the center. So a lot of those convenience aspects are very important, we find, with the membership as they get to know the center and the services that are provided, and the fact that it's such a time saver for them. Even diabetic supplies or managing some kind of chronic condition that might not have the time limitations that we all have to properly manage can be managed inside our centers.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry, did you want to add?
I just want to clarify something. I talked about, pursuant to Commissioner Moss's question about the insurance, and it was the standard. We're going to have, the typical workers' comp, general liability, and then obviously the insurance for the building. But I thought it was important to clarify, and I apologize I didn't say this earlier, is actually in Section 3, which is where we talk about what Everside's insurance will be. They will be, to piggyback on what Suzanne said, they're the ones who are going to have the professional medical malpractice liability insurance. So that's going to be on them as part of this process. And I think that's just important to distinguish between their liability and their coverage and what our coverage and responsibility will be.
Okay, well, thank you, I appreciate that.
As to any disputes between the county and Everside, would have to arise out of the negligence of the county directly. So keep in mind, that's another layer of protection.
Mr. Chairman.
I still I see it as a high cost, high risk, experiment. And I appreciate your work on it, but I would hope there would be another way to do this that would be less expensive and less risky. But anyway, thank you. Appreciate the information.
Commissioner Moss, I would tell you that this is not something new that cities and counties don't do. It's very popular throughout the state. The school board in Indian River County even does it. They have their office right there next to our fleet management building, and it's been successful for them. It's still up and running. This, I would also tell you that the county is already involved in the medical business. They do it every day on ambulances, every day. They administer drugs, they provide care that we're liable for on a daily basis as we speak right now. So that happens on a daily 24-hour-a-day basis. This is going to be successful by how we do it. And like I said earlier, I think we need to have the professional atmosphere, have the things that we're going to do. How this is going to work is that I'm a county employee or I'm a constitutional employee. I'm going to go to this. I walked into this building. I got great care. I got great service. And the next time I'm at work, employee Laura is going to say, "Hey, man, I'm not feeling too good." I said, "Hey, man, I just went to the county health clinic. It was awesome." And he was one of the guys that was just considering it. And he has a good experience. So it's all gonna take place like this. So this is not a new business model. This is not a new any type of thing that we're doing that nobody else has done. We're probably one of the last, I want to say, counties our size that's probably not doing it. And now we're finally getting into or city-wise. And I think it's a great idea. I think it's something, we'll obviously, Suzanne, and we'll look at the records of over the next year or so to see where this is going. And I mean, we could address it then, but I think it's going to be highly successful if we do it the right way. And I think we're doing it the right way right now. And I think everybody has that attitude. So I'm really looking forward to it. And with that, I'm going to second Commissioner Fleischer's motion, but I'll have any discussion. Madam Vice Chairman, anything?
No, I was just going to second the motion, so thank you for that. The only thing I'd add is, again, we aren't reinventing the wheel, but this is also a benefit to our employees. This is something that will help with recruitment and retention because it is a service, especially if we are bringing people in from the outside and trying to recruit outside of our borders. They may not have a medical home, and this provides that easily for them to acclimate into the community. So I think it's a good thing. I'm glad we're moving forward with it. Thank you.
Commissioner Lohr?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. one thing that we all, I think you spoke about it earlier, just trying to get an appointment at a medical facility in our community is tough. Sometimes you wait. But I think what's most important and perhaps overlooked is this is extended to our retirees. And a lot of the retirees on fixed income, this means a lot. They're going to save money. We already heard about the drug aspect of it. So as for me, I'm in favor of it.
Commissioner Fleischer.
Mr. Chair, thank you, and I appreciate the discussion, but you had to have seen how this has evolved. This has been well discussed for many years. And I wanted to point out that in the assessment, in the statistics of 58.2, that was also taken when a provider was not identified. It was also taken at a time when we did not know exactly where we wanted this clinic to be. What type of clinic do we want? Do we want MRIs? We don't. We want to have advanced medical care. We want a referral site location for the ER. They come in all forms, as the consultant suggested. And I think that at the same time, these other willingness to participate was taken at the same time. So I think now, and I want to revert everybody's attention back to when the ever popular walk-in clinics that are in the county, when they first came into being, they were empty buildings. There was no participation. People heard the word walk-in clinic. I want to see a real doctor. I want to see a medical provider. I want to see a professional. Guess what? You pass by any walk-in clinic and the parking lot's full. And people have grown to understand that they can get quick, qualified medical attention. And anybody who's got a family that is coming home from work and then suddenly has to go to the ER and spend another 5 or 6 hours to look and get evaluated when they can go to the county clinic and perhaps maybe get referred to the ER or get treated. I think it's going to catch on like wildfire, and it's a service that our employees and our retirees will more than welcome. And they've already spoken out, and I think it's going to increase greatly. That's up to you. But it's the level of service that they can get and appreciate, and the convenience and the quality medical care provided by a certified, licensed practitioner who's insured. And I don't necessarily agree with some of the statements that were made because, after all, you could sue anybody for anything. You could sue anybody for breathing the air that you're breathing. If we run short or shy of suits, this dais will become ineffective because it can happen at any time, anywhere. I'm more concerned about the level of service, the quality for our employees. So thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so at this point, you are not planning to have a doctor, an MD, on premises?
That's correct. In keeping with cost containment and recommendations of what staff would be necessary to deliver services and care to our membership, it was determined that a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant would be the level that would be appropriate with 2 medical assistants. And then we can always revise staffing at any time. Everside has stated if we at any time determine that we want to have a different staffing model based on the needs of the organization, we can amend it at any time. They would recruit for those needs, and we would pay it on a pass-through expense.
Thank you.
You're
All right,
welcome.
no further questions? All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by myself. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay. Opposed.
Passes 4-1 with Commissioner Moss the dissenting vote. Thank you. All right, moving on to Commissioners' matters under item 14. This is under, well,
13A.
what did they do? Did I miss something?
13A.
Did I? Oh, 13, I'm so, Counselor, I was gonna cut you out, I'm so sorry.
Would have been okay.
13A, 61st Drive Maintenance Map.
All right, I'll keep this short. Just part of the West Wabasso septic to sewer project includes adding some facilities along 61st Drive, just off of County Road 510. I think Kim's just pulling up the diagram of 61st Drive. County has been maintaining 61st Drive for many years, at least going back. Our initial records that we've been looking at is at least 2012, but much farther than that. Thus, in order to facilitate the provision of utility services to 61st Drive as part of this important project, and also at the same time memorialize the county's ownership of 61st Drive per Florida statutes. County Attorney's Office simply recommends that the board today authorize the county chair of the Board of County Commissioners to execute the maintenance map and have the County Attorney's Office file that in the records of the Clerk of Court. And with that, I'm available for any questions about the maintenance map process or this item.
Commissioners, any questions of the counselor? Anybody from the public? All right, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams. Do I have a second by Commissioner Fleischer down there?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion before us? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. This will be very helpful for both utilities and for public works, so we really appreciate the county's support.
And Counselor, thank Commissioner Adams for saving that because I was going on right, whizzing right by it.
Got to get my septic to sewer projects done.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to 14 under Commissioners' Matters. This is under my matters. Commissioners, that we don't, this is, I don't consider this an action item. I just, consensus kind of thing to let you know that I spoke with Chairman of the Soil and Water Conservation District, Mr. Adair, and told him my displeasure of not asking Commissioner Laura, myself, to assist, or the board as a whole, to assist with regards to them finding new members, which they desperately need since Commissioner Gunner and Commissioner Lindsay did not run for re-election on this. I think you saw the backup material. I think we got it worked out, and I would ask you that, especially Commissioner Lohr, or any other commissioner that may have some connections in District 4 to maybe assist so they can find a member. So, any questions or comments?
Nope.
I think Commissioner Lohr is well connected in his district.
Okay. I think so. All right, good. All right, next thing we want to talk about under my matters is board any board participation with regards to the Indian River Prevention Coalition. As you know, we all had a meeting, I think, with one of their staff members, Kaylee Savoy, with regards to this. And what they're asking of us is they're having an executive roundtable on Thursday, the 23rd, which is a roundtable of all government leaders, police chiefs, sheriffs, other people that would be involved in combating substance abuse with regards in Indian River County. And they also have a community board that makes the decisions and recommendations based on what they hear from the executive roundtable in order to provide guidance for those organizations and others that need assistance with proper prevention and things of that nature. So it's first of all, do you want to participate, and then second of all, do you want to have a commissioner? And I wish I would have got to tell you, but Commissioner Moss, I was thinking you'd be the perfect fit for this since you're kind of involved in the fentanyl type thing.
I would be happy to do it, and I can attend the meeting.
And so
Coming
so
up.
they have the, if you saw the, you should have gotten an email that they're having a meeting on the 23rd. And
I can attend-
training
I
on-
can
there'll be
attend that
another
meeting.
training on March 2nd for 2 hours. And that would basically put you on the community board, which makes the decisions. And the executive roundtable is really open to anybody that wants to come. But if you would attend both of those, it would be good. Do I hear any comments, questions, ideas, or anything you'd want to let Commissioner Moss, we can do this as a consensus also, if y'all are good with that?
Yes, I served on it for 5 or 8 years, I'm not sure, but it's great. You'll have a great experience there.
Thank you.
So, any other comments?
Any administrative concerns?
Any with this?
Not operationally.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'm good with that. All right. All right, thank you. So we've just taken care of the soil and water issue, and we've taken care of the participation in the Substance Prevention Council, or the Indian River Prevention Coalition. I'm sorry. Let me get that right. Next, item E, Commissioner Moss, a request from Vero Beach Film Festival to use the commission chambers over June 8th through the 11th, 2023. Commissioner Moss.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you may recall, last year, we granted permission to the Vero Beach Film Festival to use this venue to show films. I checked with staff. There weren't any problems in that regard last year. And this year, last year we didn't have a cost estimate, I mean, what they would be paying. But this year, now that we've done it, we do. And I included that in the backup material. Last year, they used 2 information technology technicians who worked a combined total of 24 hours, and 3 facilities personnel who worked a combined total of 24 hours. So the current cost for the same staff time will be just over $2,000, $2,331.16. That's an estimate, which Vero Beach Film Festival has received and has agreed to. No wine is served here. So and we have a representative from the Vero Beach Film Festival, and that's coming up, by the way, I should say this, June 8th to the 11th. The 8th is not being held here. The 8th is it the Vero Beach Museum of Art? Could you introduce yourself, if you would, please?
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioners.
For the record.
Commissioner Moss. The Vero Beach Film Festival takes place actually between the 7th and the 11th of June this year. Last year, we used the chambers from the Friday Eve through the Saturday and Sunday. We didn't use it the Wednesday and Thursday because you're conducting business here. So we're requesting the same days of the Friday, the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay.
David Yakir, I'm the executive director.
And is this the 5th or the 6th year? This is a very
This will be the
successful
6th year of the
thank
festival.
You. It's a very successful film festival, brings tourism to our area.
It does.
And this turned out, everybody loved being here.
They did,
for
in
films.
fact.
So we can get them back for other things, that'll be great.
This was one of their favorite venues, and the one that our staff and our volunteers were very protective of. We knew that we were one of the few organizations that you would allow to use a chamber as beautiful as this. And it was a favorite. We had great people working from your side, great security, great AV people. So we're hoping we get it back again this year and you vote for us so we can bring back the festival for the 6th time.
I should also put in a plug for Dan Russell, because they're also planning to use the library. They don't need us to vote on that. They just booked that separately, but they saw, everything that Dan did in the Mary D. Schneider Multimedia Room, and they were so impressed by that you'll be using that.
Fantastic technology.
You'll be using that
in the
also.
library. Definitely.
So,
we held the dates, and we're so happy to have these 2 venues, honestly.
Yeah, so
Two of the best venues we have.
big thanks to Dan Russell for all his hard work there.
Yes. Second that.
Okay, but if anybody has any questions, as the gentleman, otherwise I'll make a motion to approve use of this venue for the film festival.
Mr. Chair, I had a couple questions. Are you a nonprofit?
Yeah, we're a 501c3.
Okay, and where do the dollars raised by using this venue, where would we expect them to resurface in the community?
Well, we raise funds, obviously, to keep the festival going, but we have in the past had relationships with some of the organizations in the area. We donated to Suncoast Mental Health for many years. This year, we're thinking of expanding our partnerships, possibly beyond Suncoast Mental Health. We started to talk to the Up Center, which is a favorite charity of many of our people. So we're hoping to grow this. We're also working with other organizations in the community. We're working with the Theater Guild to develop a new educational program. And of course, we're working and have a partnership with the museum. So we have dreams. We have dreams of playing a bigger and bigger role in the community.
And for Mr. Zito, and I'm relatively new, obviously, does the county have a policy on who, when, where, what we have an agreement with, like the gentleman's organization, on frequency, perhaps, have we turned people down before? Like I said, I'm new to this.
We have. The policies are generally related to the facilities that are inviting the public to use them for their intended purpose. This is an anomaly, if you will. It's something that has to be brought before the commission on a case-by-case basis. It's been awarded in limited circumstances, but not frequent. And it's certainly been denied.
And when we have vendors use our fairgrounds, they pay us, obviously.
They pay a schedule under a policy that requires the appropriate insurance. Now, last year, we did collaborate with both facilities and IT to engage the Parks and Recreation venue management system and policies that include all of the necessary indemnifications and insurance. So that will happen again if the board does vote in favor of this request.
And we currently do not charge.
We don't have a rate that we have a schedule. This is not a publicly rentable space, typically. So we just use a cost reimbursement method.
Okay, so the dollars that they would pay for our IT people, otherwise they would be doing their other job. In other words, they're going to pay that dollars for reimbursement for our, but in other words, our employees wouldn't be doing their job in lieu of doing this job.
Yes, and in fact, this is usually at overtime rates because it's after hours.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Well,
Fleischer?
you know, last time we did this, we were getting out of the COVID era. And there was talk about having the festival not in person, that we were going to do it the way everything was happening during COVID, which was through the media. And it was a re-entry back into it having the function and looking at the seating here. Yes, it does look like a movie theater. This is not a movie theater. This is a place, this is the people's place for government to happen. And sometimes in unique times you make sacrifices or you make decisions and you make things work. But now, see, I heard mention of the Mary D. Schneider multimedia room, which is geared for such an event, has ample facility, parking, seating, size, for the amount of people who attended here. So I would recommend that we utilize that facility, a public access facility, as opposed to the governmental office arena where government is conducted, to keep it away from that, to avoid all the other challenges of the 501c3s that have to be vetted out. Do you get to use the building? Do you get to use the building? Well, the existence of the multimedia room was for that purpose. And I believe that it can be well presented, the entire program can be well presented at the Mary D. Schneider Multimedia Facility. I think it's awesome, it's well-suited, and I don't think you're going to overpack that house. So I am not in support of having it here in the governmental building at this time. I would support it being all put at the Mary D. Schneider Multimedia. It'll be probably less costly for the organization for what you have to do, because this building is not open during those times. So we do have to have security, we do have to have access, we have to have people upstairs, downstairs, in the back, and those are cost factors. You won't have to have that much at the Mary D. Schneider Multimedia Facility, which you've seen. It's high tech, and it's got everything you need, and there's no major adjustments or hurdles to overcome. So my thought is, put it all there. It's convenient. There's also actually ample parking, not only in the lot, but that structure across the street, that's open public space as well. So there's plenty of parking, and they would be closer to some of the indulgences that may take place afterwards, not before, because they're driving, I know, but afterwards. It just makes greater sense to have it at that facility. And then we're avoiding all the other challenges of which 501c3 gets a chance to do something here. Yes, it does look like a movie theater, but that's not the major consideration. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chairman?
Yeah, so I was hesitant last year just because it was new, but my understanding is there was no real issues with the building. They paid what the costs were and are willing to do that again this year. So I'll be happy to second your motion, Commissioner Moss. What I would suggest is, I understand what you guys are saying, and those were some of the concerns I had last year, is how do you make it an even playing field? So perhaps what we need to do is develop some type of policy related to this room so we don't have to go through kind of these hoops in the future, and it's more clear. I don't know what that might be. Maybe there's some tie to, I know you've tried to tie this to tourism, so there's some tie to that, or it's a county department. I know 4-H or UF-IFAS uses this room for different things. Whatever you guys want it to be, so it's not just everybody coming to ask us to use the room. I do understand there's some technology in this room that is why that concern is there. Plus, you kind of have access to the entire building once you kind of get in, so there's some security concerns there. But I think just to kind of move this forward, there was no issue with this particular use last year that I'm aware of. They're willing to pay for it. I'm happy to support that this year, but I would encourage somebody, whether it's staff or one of the commissioners, to bring back a conversation related to the policy of this room. And maybe in the future, that means that the film festival doesn't qualify, but I think it's, to take the angst out of it, we should have some kind of discussion on what we want or do not want to, as far as usage of the room. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think last year we were all, it was kind of new ground we were treading on, we did last year, but I think everything, I have to agree with Commissioner Adams, I think everything went well, it went fine, it helped the community as a whole. Yeah, that's something we probably need to do if we're going to start doing more of this. This doesn't get used that much. It gets used for smaller stuff. I mean, I had some Boy Scouts in here or Cub Scouts in here the other night, like 4 of them, just for 5 minutes. I let them pound the gavel and take their picture up here and move on. So while I agree with all the comments were made, yes, this is the local people's house, but just depends on what you want to use for. So maybe we need to look at a policy in the future, but
Yeah.
Mr. Zito?
Mr. Chairman, we do have a use of conference and meeting rooms in administration buildings A and B policy. I can distribute that to the commissioners and see if it's adaptable or
Sounds good.
Discuss it.
Let's act on this. We have a motion by Commissioner Moss, a second by, I'm sorry, do you want further comment?
I do. About how many attendees did you have last year?
In the festival
Yes,
total?
in here.
In here? We don't have, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can say we had about 400 people in the 2 days that we used it.
Okay, and they pay to come in?
Yeah, they buy passes. We usually have between 5 and 7 venues that we use to show films. And there's different pass levels that people buy. Some people buy a pass just to go to all the films. Some people buy a pass to go to 4 films. Some people buy a pass to go to all our parties, our dinners. So there are different pass levels. We don't advertise the fact that we sell single tickets, but we do. And we make it known on the week of the festival in case people want to walk in here and buy a ticket to our films.
Mr. Chair, I do consider this a sacred place. Having Boy Scouts is a big difference than having someone making money off of this building. You know, I do struggle with that. What do we want this body to look like? Are we going to be, is this going to be a rented theater in the future? Are we going to have a list once this begins getting contagious? And I think that we certainly should be charging. You know, we charge at other venues, and I don't understand why we're not charging, and I don't want this county to look like, you know, a place where you can come and pay an organization that offsets our expenses for our IT people. And I get the tourism, I get the hotel rooms, I get all that. But like I said, I'm new at this, but I would certainly want to be paid to use our building. We talked about liability and other things. You know, you got 400 people in here, not a very secure building at night. You've got custodial issues that may or may not come up. I don't know if those folks are being compensated as well. So that's where I stand. I think that we either need to enhance our policies, but I don't think we need to go down this road because this is the chambers. And something has to be said about that.
I just say,
Understand completely. I think the luxury that we have in this, I would tell you, since my two plus years now on this, is that we've had other things come before this board that want to use this room, and they have been denied. We have the luxury of looking at each individual thing, and we could put that into policy if we needed to, I guess, Mr. Administrator, to say anything that comes before, anything that this room is used for could come before the board, and it currently does. Stuff like this or anything else that's come before board, we have denied things in the past. So it's probably right now just a matter of what we want to do on this particular item. I hear everything that everybody said. I agree with a lot of it, disagree with some of it, but everybody's made a great point with regards to this. And so with that said, I think we just need to go ahead and move on this one individually, and then we can look at a policy upcoming in the future for this. But again, the luxury we have is that we most of the times, to my knowledge, anything that's come in here, it's come before this body. So I would think that would be the case. So with that, I have a motion by Commissioner Moss, a second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion?
Not too many publics here.
My name is Kelly Kite, 2735 Carissa Drive, Vero Beach, Florida. I know you probably have more important business to address, so I'll make this brief. I've been a supporter of the film festival since the first festival 7 years ago. We obviously had some time off from COVID. It brings a tremendous amount of people to the community that use the community services, restaurants, hotels, generates businesses. There's also a group of people that typically wouldn't come to Vero Beach that get to see our great city by specifically coming for this festival. It also allows students that are interested in the arts and whether that be theater, whether that be film, that provides a lot of opportunity for them to engage that we typically do not have here in Vero Beach. So I'm in support of it, and I'm sure that the rest of the folks involved in the film festival are.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment?
Mr. Chair, I don't want to, I heard Kelly. I don't want him to think that any way, shape, or form that that some people are not in support of the film festival. I think it's a great thing. Just, this is not the place. No other municipality, no other chambers does anything like this. And it was a very unusual time in COVID recovery that we had to make a pass to make it happen. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen, if I recall that. So, I just wanted to clarify that it's not in support of the event. It's the locale. This is a different type of building, a different type of environment, and I don't believe that it's appropriate for the continued use of that or anything else. And again, just to point out, no other municipality, City of Vero, City of Sebastian, is doing this type of thing with their chambers as well. So just want it on the record that it's about the venue, not the actual event. Okay, I admire what you do, but not here. Okay.
All right, with that, Commissioners, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I reluctantly, and the policy will change, but aye for me.
All those opposed? The motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Fleischer the dissenting vote. All right, moving on to item 15B, Solid Waste Disposal District. 15B1, addendum to base contract with Tiger Inc. for the sale and purchase of natural gas. Can we do this without Himanshu here?
Oh, Himanshu's not here, so instead you could get me if you needed it. But
Mr. Chair, I'll be happy to move approval. I'm happy to see this project moving
Second.
forward.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion before us? I don't see too many out there. Rich, you got anything you want to say? Okay, Commissioners, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Good job, Sean. I'll tell Himanshu you did great.
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, just real quick, I wanted to give my fellow commissioners an update. At the Fort County Legislative meeting, we discussed putting together an affordable housing working group. Kathy Copeland and I have been working on that, and you know, when you come up with an idea, people volunteer you to head it up. So we've kind of taken the reins on that, but we will be sending out letters to the other 3 counties asking them to appoint somebody to the committee, and we're trying to put a meeting together sometime in March. We're following Senate Bill 102, which is the big affordable housing bill, but I wanted you guys to know that that was moving forward, and as soon as we have a meeting date, I'll certainly let y'all know.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
With that, our next meeting will be March 7th, 2023. With that, we stand adjourned.
Wait.
What?
Grab that arm.
Our next regular meeting
What'd I say? Oh, well,
is March 7th.
oh, okay.
Our next meeting will be the special call meeting on March 3rd.
It's not in my notes.
Sorry, sir.
You were still technically right, but Dylan has.
Okay, so March 3rd will be the next meeting. The next regularly scheduled meeting, though, is March 7th. Okay, it's not in my notes, it didn't happen, right? It's not in
Right.
writing, isn't that right, Sheriff?
That's right.
If it didn't, not in writing, it didn't happen. All right, thank you. With that, we stand adjourned.